Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Glowhood podcast, the space where we get real about growth, grit, and the journey that happens before the spotlight ever hits. I'm your host, Danielle Mame, and today we're diving deep into something we've all felt but rarely talk about, and something that's been heavy on my mind. The myth of overnight success and the psychology behind why we struggle with slow progress. Because let's be honest, we've all been there. Scrolling through social media, watching someone suddenly blow up, wondering why your hard work isn't paying off yet, or questioning if maybe you're just not cut out for this. But here's the truth that nobody tells you. Overnight success is a beautifully edited lie. What looks effortless is often years of silent work, countless setbacks, and a whole bunch of showing up when nobody's watching. But the gag is, the reason we crave instant success isn't about impatience. It's actually psychological. Our brains are wired to want quick wins, and unless we understand why, we'll keep falling into the trap of giving up too soon. And trust me, I know this because I've lived it. Let's talk about this very podcast for a second, because it hasn't always been smooth sailing. I started it full of fire. I had ideas, passion, and a real desire to connect with people like you. But somewhere along the way, I slipped. And I'd record an episode, feel proud about it, and when the listens didn't skyrocket overnight, and when I didn't get the instant feedback I craved, I pulled back. At first, I was like, I'll skip this week, then maybe next month, and before I knew it, the mic collected dust. Why? Because deep down, I was waiting for some magical moment when I'd suddenly have a big audience or viral success. But I realized something crucial. Consistency doesn't wait for motivation. It's built in the quiet moments when the numbers are low and the applause is silent. And I bet some of you are in that exact space right now. Let's pause here for a second. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about it. What's something you started but pulled back from because you weren't seeing instant results? I want you to name it, say it out loud, or think it in your head. And if you feel bold, DM me right now with, I'm building in the name of your project, whatever it is, and I'm showing up even when no one's watching. Because this podcast isn't just about the end results. It's about honoring the work that happens before the success knocks on your door. I want this space to be a place where we not only talk about success, but the process that leads us there. Because the truth is, waiting for the perfect timing or overnight success is just another form of procrastination. So let's break down how we can get into the hidden work behind instant wins. We're going to get into some overnight success stories because these examples matter. The first example will be Issa Rae. Before Insecure became a hit on HBO, Issa was creating Awkward Black Girl on YouTube with no budget, no team, just her, a camera, and a dream. It took years of consistent, unnoticed work before she got her big break. Another example is Mr. Beast. The biggest YouTuber out right now. He didn't just blow up. He spent years making videos, some with only a couple views, testing ideas, and learning the craft long before the algorithm favored him. The last one is Oprah. Before she became the media icon billionaire we know her to be today, Oprah faced countless rejections and setbacks. She spent years honing her voice and building credibility behind the scenes. What we see now is their highlight reel, the glossy finish. What we don't see is the 5 a.m. writing sessions, the silent launches, the flopped ideas, and all the other stuff that goes on behind everyone's success. Success isn't sudden. It's a slow build, brick by brick. The consistency nobody claps for. So let's do this. Take a minute and jot down 3 things you've worked on in silence. Maybe it's a side hustle, a creative project, a fitness journey, whatever it is. Write it down right now. Now I want you to circle one thing that you're going to be consistent with again, even if nobody's clapping, okay? Now we're going to get into the psychology of why we crave the overnight success. Why do we want fast results so badly? Why do we even crave fast results? Why is slow progress so uncomfortable for our brains? It all comes down to how our brains are wired. And I want to break this down in a way that actually helps you push through. The dopamine loop. Why quick wins feel so good. Our brain runs on dopamine, the reward chemical. And our world is designed for instant gratification. A like on Instagram, that's a dopamine hit. Checking your box on your to-do list, another dopamine hit. Getting a ding from a text, another dopamine hit. Your brain loves instant gratification, and it's not your fault. Apps, social media, and even streaming platforms have conditioned us to expect instant gratification. It's why all the apps are designed with notifications and instant feedback to keep you hooked. But here's the problem. Dopamine doesn't reward slow progress. It craves instant gratification, the high of small wins, the quick wins, the fast, visible results. So when you start a new project, you're excited at first because the dopamine is flowing. A few supportive comments, a spike in views, all that good stuff. We crave validation. It's human nature. But once those start to fade, and once growth starts to feel slow, your brain starts to lose interest. Your brain is wired to want the rush, not the routine. So we have to train our brains to celebrate progress, not just the results. The real success works in delayed gratification. It's planting seeds today without seeing any growth for weeks or months. It's working on that craft in silence while trusting that progress is happening, even if you don't see it yet. How do we retrain ourselves to be okay with slow growth? We have to hack dopamine by creating micro wins. Instead of launch my business, your win should be brainstorm 5 product ideas today. Instead of get 1,000 podcast downloads, your win should be record for 30 minutes this week. Micro wins feed your brain the dopamine it craves without waiting for the big payoff. Here's another wild concept. Psychologists have discovered something called the goal gradient effect, the psychological bias where we work harder the closer we feel we are to a goal. Think about it. When you're 90% done with the project, you sprint to the finish line, right? But at the start, it feels so slow, so we drag our feet. The danger is that most dreams don't show progress right away. So we quit about 10% of the way in, and we're still miles away from the finish line. So what's the solution? Make your goals feel closer. Break big goals into micro goals so your brain feels those dopamine hits more often. Instead of grow my brand, say, I'll post 3 times this week. Don't say get fit, say go to the gym twice this week. When the goal feels more reachable, your brain works harder. Micro goals trick your brain into feeling closer to success. This is a big one because it's about the fear of judgment. There's a psychological bias called the spotlight effect, where we think people are paying way more attention to us than they really are. You post a project, and when it doesn't get traction, you assume everybody noticed the flop. You miss a goal, and you think everybody's silently judging you. But the truth? Most people are way too busy with their own lives to obsess over your progress. And honestly, that's freeing because it means you can experiment, fail, restart as many times as you need without the whole world watching. So next time you hold back on sharing your work because you're afraid of how it'll look, remind yourself, no one's watching as closely as you think. Now I want you to take a deep breath and ask yourself, what would I build if I wasn't afraid of people watching me fail? Hold on to that answer because that's your real work. Now we're getting tactical because mindset matters, but so does strategy. How do we push through the silence when the dopamine fades, the moments where the progress feels invisible? Here are 4 strategies you can start with. Number 1, focus on systems, not just goals. Consistency comes from systems, not motivation. Goals are the end result, the destination after the long journey. Like, I want 10,000 podcast listeners. Systems are the process and daily habits that get you there. For example, I will release 1 episode every week, no matter what. Number 2, build a consistency tracker. Track your actions, not just your results. Did you write today? Check that off. Did you record today? Check that off. Seeing your streak builds momentum. Success isn't just viral moments. It's outlines being drafted. It's hours of research. It's skills being practiced, ideas being brainstormed. In fact, I challenge you right now. Create a simple consistency tracker for your goal. It can be a checklist on your phone, a sticky note on your wall, whatever works for you. Write these down so your brain sees the progress, even when the world doesn't. Number 3, no 0 days. Commit to one small step every single day, even if it's just 5 minutes. Write a sentence, brainstorm ideas, record a voice memo. The goal, never go to bed without progress. And number 4, find accountability partners. Consistency doesn't mean doing it alone. You can tell your friend about your weekly goal. It'll help you be consistent. Join a community of like-minded people. You can even DM me your micro goals and I'll be checking in on some of you, okay? Here's the truth. Your timeline is yours. Your timeline is valid. Your pace is your power. Say it with me. My timeline is valid. My pace is my power. My timeline is valid. My pace is my power. Keep saying that until it sticks. Stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Success isn't a solo game. It's a long game. So if you've been waiting for the right time, this is your sign to start. So today, commit to one small step. And if you're with me, send me a DM right now. I'm building whatever your goal is, and I'm showing up even when no one is watching. Because this podcast, it's about us, building success brick by brick. If this episode resonated with you, please do me this favor. Share it with a friend who's doubting their timeline. DM me your micro goal with #ConsistentNotLucky, and let's build this community because the work behind the scenes deserves to be celebrated just as much as the end result. And please rate and review this podcast. Every review helps us grow and reach more people who need these conversations. Until next time, keep showing up even when no one is watching. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Glowhood podcast. If you like this episode and would like to see more episodes like this, please subscribe and follow Glowhood by visiting www.glowhood.com. Or you can follow us on all social media platforms at Glowhood Podcast. If you would also like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon at patreon.com/glowhood, where you can join for as little as $3 a month. You'll have access to exclusive content like bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes footage, monthly Q&As, and more. Thank you again for your support, and I'll see you on the next episode.